Kenyans are in shock. When Raila Odinga went to Shakahola, was denied entry into this scene of a massive tragedy, the nation of Kenya. Maybe the biggest single tragedy of this kind we have seen in our history. After that, Raila went to visit Pastor Ezekiel. Yep, the controversial Pastor Ezekiel, who had just been released from police custody. And Kenyans were shocked. They didn't know what to think of it. And you know, when you don't know what to think of something, you start speculating. Oh, Raila and Ruto are eating from the same place, etc., etc. Such far-fetched imaginations, speculation that doesn't make sense because it's not supported by the facts within the public domain, and neither is it supported by information that should not be too difficult. It's not really in the public domain, but it should not be too difficult for anybody with a little time on their hands to get their hands on. It doesn't. It contradicts all that. To solve this nagging mystery of why Baba went to see Pastor Ezekiel, you need to ask yourself two questions. And if you can answer those questions, the mystery will be solved. Question number one: what is the character and strategy of Raila Odinga that may be at play here? Considering the facts we already have. That's the first question. In other words, based on his character, his past, the way he does his things, what is Baba up to here? Okay, that is the first question you need to answer. The second question: assuming that this particular incident was targeted at a certain audience, either the public, or maybe a personality, or maybe some powerful figure, assuming that this was targeted, because Raila would have decided, visit this man, no photographs. He would easily have made such a visit. But he allowed photographs out into the media. So the question is, whatever message he was trying to portray here, who was it aimed at? Who was it aimed at? Simple question. Admittedly, the answer may not be very obvious. But if you can get the answer to that question, and I can give you a heads up, it was not directed at me and you. It was not directed at the public. Okay? Then you'll easily solve this nagging mystery. And even if you can't, don't worry. I'm going to solve it for you. Very, very convincingly. But before I do that, I feel that I have to put to rest the very serious worry amongst many Kenyans, which is really justified under normal circumstances. The concern amongst Kenyans that there's going to be a massive cover-up, and indeed a massive cover-up is loading, over the Shakahola Manenos. More so because we have seen clear political linkages, confirmed by Raila's visit to Pastor Ezekiel. It is linked to our politics, and very closely so. And so I want to take a few minutes to prove to you that there's nothing to worry about. Everything is going to be exposed. We're going to know the whole truth about Shakahola. Why am I so sure? Well, the simple answer to that question is one word: season. It is the season we are in. Okay? It is a spiritual prophetic season. It doesn't matter what you call it. But it is a season no human, with human power, with the limits of human power, or the strength of human power, can avoid or escape the consequences of a season. You can't. Hata ufanye nini, you can't. Okay? You know, I heard you very clearly just now when you said, some of you at least, oh no, that is Chris again giving us that spiritual nonsense of his. Yeah, we came here for political analysis. We don't want that spiritual manenos. Aye? See, he starts another channel to do those spiritual things of his own. Yeah, I'm not interested. Without the spiritual, I would be useless. All of a sudden you'd come to this channel and you'd find zero value in the videos. That's the truth. And not only that, this thing you call spiritual nonsense, yeah, since you believe in science, let me prove to you that what is spiritual is being proved by science all the time. Oh yes. And let me start with something that affects all of us. Telling lies. Being untruthful. Scientists, not spiritual people, scientists have conclusively proved that telling a lie affects your health. It affects your body. Yeah. And as a spiritual person, I can tell you, the person who invented, created, put together your body, yeah, put it together in such a way that evil, like lies, will have consequences on you. In other words, you were not designed to lie and be evil. Okay? But what exactly does science say? What has it proved? There is conclusive proof that telling lies increases the risk of so many deadly diseases, including cancer. There is also scientific proof that telling lies affects your hormones. Yeah, it increases hormonal activity in the body, and also weakens your immune system. Okay? I beg you, don't have to believe me. Do your own research. Google Sahi. Yeah. And see for yourself. I'm not inventing a story here. In other words, in some extreme cases, telling lies can prove to be fatal within a very short period of time. Of course, it is always fatal long term. Yeah, but also in extreme cases, it can be fatal within a very short space of time. Let me give you the story of somebody I knew, a dear friend. Yeah, a very recent incident that happened. This friend passed on very recently. Yeah, and one day something hit me, and I went back, spoke to their doctors, spoke to the people around them, etc., etc. What was I trying to do? I was trying to prove that towards the end of their lives, they were telling a very big lie almost daily. Yeah. They had an affair that their spouse did not know about. Now, I've just talked about weakened immune system. Yeah, and within a very short space of time. And even as they fell ill, they continued with this affair. You know, with modern technology, you can still chat to people, send them videos, etc., etc. And now I am convinced that one of the things that triggered their departure from this earth was telling lies. Now, just a very quick aside about our current government. There are people who have called President William Samoei Ruto wise. He has a lot of wisdom. Okay? I disagree. President William Samoei Ruto obviously is very smart, but it is not wisdom he's using. He is cunning. Okay? Now, najua kizungu ilikuja na meli. Many people don't know the difference between the word cunning and the word wise, wisdom. For instance, you cannot say that the prophets of Almighty God in the Bible were cunning. You can't. That's the wrong word. they were wise and full of wisdom. Okay? Wisdom is experience, knowledge, and good judgment. And wisdom comes only from one source, God Almighty. Yeah, there's a verse on your screens right now from the Bible to prove it. So in this life, because we have choices in our life, we make choices every day, and all our choices have consequences ultimately. Okay? In this life, you can decide to meet your goals, to get what you want, either by being cunning or by using wisdom. Okay? Now the problem with being cunning, using deceit and evasion, is because the direction you're going into just means trouble, because you're in evil territory. So a lot of evil things happen, and the end is very predictable. Hapa hapa duniani, malipo inakuanga hapa hapa, sio mahali pengine. Okay? Let me give you a quick example. You decide to be cunning to do something, by using deceit. And when you're cunning, usually, even if you're a good person, it will lead to murder. Okay? You'll see a lot of people dying mysteriously, being killed mysteriously. That is the nature of using cunning ways to meet your goals or reach your objective. Let me give you a quick example. King David had an affair with somebody's wife. And when she sent a message to him, informing him that she was pregnant from him, because her husband was one of King David's soldiers, and he had been out in the battlefield for months, and therefore people would say, this pregnancy cannot be his. When the king discovered this, he decided to be cunning. And so what did he do? He sent for that soldier, the husband of this woman, to come home, knowing that because the husband was home, when that child, that his wife was already carrying, when that child finally came onto this earth, people would link the child to the husband, because the husband was around at around the same time. But what happened? The soldier refused to go home. He said his conscience would not allow him to go home to his wife, have a good time with his wife, while he knew his colleagues were out there still risking their lives on the battlefront. So he did not go anywhere near his wife. So now the king had a problem. He had chosen the cunning path, and the cunning path is very slippery, quickly leads you to evil. That is a spiritual law. It will happen every time. And so he was forced to come up with another plan, a very evil plan. King David sent his very faithful soldier with his own death warrant. Okay, he wrote a note to the general commanding his army and told him, put this man who is carrying this letter on the front line, and put him where the battle is very hot, and then when the battle intensifies, all of you withdraw except him, leave him there alone. And of course, what they were expecting to happen happened. This innocent man was killed. That was murder. My dear friend, choose ye today what you're going to use, to get what you want. Wisdom or cunning. But while you choose to be cunning, remember the consequences of that path you have chosen. You yourself have chosen. Nobody has forced you. You had the choice. You chose to be cunning. Be prepared for the consequences. Bottom line, cunning uses lies to deceive people, deceit, and it leads to murder, which leads to very dire consequences, not only on yourself, spiritual laws, not only on yourself, but those children you love so much, and their children, and their children's children. Okay? Just bear that in mind. Now, why am I so sure that this Shakahola thing will be exposed fully and the people behind it? Why am I so sure? What information do I have? Well, I have only one piece of compelling information that has convinced me. Don't worry, everything is going to be exposed. And what information is that? The information I've already given you before, even in an earlier video. The information is the following. It has to do with the season we are in. What season are we in? We've said it here many times. It is a season where it will be very difficult, virtually impossible, kuficha maneno, to hide things, to do a cover-up. Now, the spiritual realm is controlled by seasons, and you cannot avoid those seasons. Just like you cannot avoid natural seasons and the consequences. For instance, when it is raining, there'll be mud. You can't avoid that. And if the road leading from your house is usually muddy and prone to flooding, it will flood and you'll be unable to go to work. There is nothing, absolutely nothing you can do about that. Okay? If you decide, for instance, to go out of your house and say to yourself, this weather nonsense, I'm going to ignore the weather. Okay? So you go out and you say, I'll not get wet. And you stand in the rain. You'll get wet no matter what you do. There is nothing you can do about it. Yeah? You can't avoid spiritual seasons. Just the way you cannot avoid physical seasons. Now, I am convinced that we came into this season sometime in the year 2017. Yeah. When the overturned prophetess gave us that verse in the Bible. Overturn, overturn, overturn. Yeah. Until the one who's chosen, emerges. Remember that? Now, before that, our government was involved in so many successful cover-ups. Very successful cover-ups. The 2013 presidential elections, for instance. Yeah, people can still huff and puff, including Kumekucha. We can still say this and this. But evidence is very hard to come by. That was a successful cover-up. Because whatever we want to say about 2013, somebody will shut us up very quickly by asking the simple question, where's the evidence? What evidence? And now we'll start stammering. Oh, you know. Zero evidence. Because this particular season we're in had not yet arrived. Let's quickly move to what happened in 2017. Now, I made this very clear on this channel at the time. The 2017 presidential elections were the most sophisticated, expensive, very well planned, every detail taken care of, cover-up operation in the history of the Republic of Kenya. I mean, the military were involved, the police were involved, intelligence community were involved. So many people were involved. But in 2017, we had entered this season we're in right now. What happened? Chris Msando had to lose his life. Lies lead to cover-up, lead to murder. It happens like that all the time, like clockwork. So many other things happened. So many Kenyans lost their lives. And even when the Supreme Court nullified the election of President Uhuru Kenyatta, because of the overwhelming evidence, the cover-up was not successful. Despite the money and effort spent, it failed because of the season. Anyway, even after that nullification, and the country went into a repeat election, the exposure had not come to an end. What happened during the repeat election, for anybody who understands statistics, was overwhelming, conclusive evidence that Uhuru Kenyatta in fact did not win that presidential election, and proof that that election was won by Raila Odinga. Because in that repeat election, which Raila boycotted, the figures didn't make sense. They didn't. They exposed an algorithm, a mathematical formula designed to produce certain results, in computer statistics. That's what happened. And things continued going south for the country until President Uhuru Kenyatta decided to abandon the path of being cunning, and he decided instead to embrace wisdom. And he went into a handshake, and everything so suddenly changed. He had a very stable presidency. He put on weight. I challenge you to go back and look at the photographs of President Uhuru Kenyatta, 2013 to 2017, and then look at his other photographs post 2018, after 2018. Remember what we said about lies? It affects your health. It does. We were never wired to tell lies and to be cunning. Never ever. There are consequences, immediate ones, on your health. So fast forward to the present. Look at what is happening in the country. Every cover-up is being exposed, and there are so many examples. We could stay here till tomorrow morning, or we could stay here 24 hours discussing them, or even just by listing them and giving a brief summary. We could stay here for 24 hours. So let me just give you one. Somebody tows a vehicle onto Gong Road somewhere, and sets that vehicle on fire. Of course, the whole idea is to prove that demonstrations in Kenya are not peaceful, and therefore the government has got a reason to clamp down on them. Now, this minibus starts burning, and the press cover it, even the international media, and they're expecting to see more photographs all over the place confirming this narrative. But what happens? Nothing. The demonstrators are not there. And so some of the people who are behind this, of course ignoring the season we're in, they decide, since people are saying this was fake, there were no number plates, etc., etc. There was no evidence that there was anybody there. Let us make a counter move to prove to people that actually that vehicle was burned by Azimio people. Azimio supporters who quickly burnt it and disappeared. So somebody comes out and says, that was my vehicle. It was burnt by Azimio protesters. I'm here to tell you the truth. This is somebody speaking. And that vehicle was still on loan. And I have the logbook of that vehicle. Hold on a minute. That minibus was on loan? Yes. But you say you still have the logbook. Does that make sense? Because when you take a loan, how can you take a loan with your vehicle as the security and you have the logbook? Does that make sense to you? It doesn't. Once again, the cover-up was exposed. The cover-up, to emphasize the cover-up which was exposed, was also exposed. Folks, it is the season we're in. You can't avoid it. Somebody should sit up and pay attention and stop the evil they're doing. Stop being cunning. Instead, embrace wisdom and save our country. Please! I'm very well aware of the fact that I'm playing a guitar to some goats, wasting my time. But at least I said it. And so that is why I'm very convinced that even if Shakahola was a cover-up, everything is going to be exposed ultimately. And the more the government tries to cover up, the more it will be exposed. Not because the people on the other side are very clever. No. It is the season. It is a spiritual season. You can't avoid it. How? How do you avoid it? How do you avoid getting wet when it's raining? And so let's come back to our main issue of this video, which we started with. What was Baba doing visiting Pastor Ezekiel? Okay? Now, those who know Raila Odinga very well will know that one of his classic tactics that he loves using is shituaring, alarming his opponents, making them panic. Okay? And all his political life, we have seen him doing this over and over and over again. Okay? For instance, in 2017, at the height of the troubles after the disputed presidential election results of the 2017 presidential elections, Raila handlers unleashed a new message. They suggested to Kenyans that we divide our country. Secession. We have a country which will consist of the people who voted for Baba. And then we have another country which will consist of the people who voted for Jubilee at that time, and Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, this particular move caused panic within Jubilee, because you can legally secede, kama msikilizani, or if a nation can't hold together, you can legally part ways. And this has happened again and again in history. It caused panic, serious panic amongst Jubilee ranks. And of course, very serious panic within State House. And I believe this was one of the moves by Baba that forced the way to the handshake and peace for the country called Kenya. Of course, Baba got nothing, almost nothing, from that handshake. Something that UDA conveniently never mention when they're condemning the handshake. Because the handshake was not a Nusu Mkate government. But today UDA can talk of nothing else except Nusu Mkate governments, and saying Raila wants Nusu Mkate government, which doesn't make sense, because he didn't get a Nusu Mkate government in 2017. These are part of the lies we're talking about, and we know where lies lead to. Okay? Deceit and cunningness, we know where it leads to. Anyway, when Raila visited Pastor Ezekiel, he was playing this move of his that he really likes using. And this move was not targeted at Kenyans. No. It was targeted at State House. Now, we all need to understand, and it is very clear, even a blind man can see. We need to understand that there is no way that whatever happened at Shakahola happened without the knowledge of the intelligence community. And many people don't know this. The work of the intelligence community is to generate information and pass it on to people who then make decisions. So bottom line, the government knew everything, but the decision makers within government did not act. So what does that tell you? So, what is the effect of Raila being pictured talking to Pastor Ezekiel? What would the reaction be from some people? Let me give you a practical example. I go and steal something, and when I'm stealing that something, I have an accomplice, and this accomplice, we're doing things together. And then somewhere down the road, I decide that I played the bigger role. I don't need this accomplice. I need to get rid of him. And so, I throw him under the bus. I betray him. There is another robbery we did somewhere else, with him, and I just give the police evidence. But somehow this man, struggles with his legal problems, and he's given bail. He comes out of custody. And then, one day, I open the newspapers, or maybe I'm looking at TV, and I see this accomplice of mine, sitting and chatting with the man we robbed. And we robbed that man together with this accomplice. And I see him sitting down and talking to that man we robbed together. How do you think I'm going to react? I'm going to panic. See, this is so and so. What is he doing with that guy? What is he doing? Hey, can you turn on the sound? Is there any way we can get the sound bite from this? What was he talking about? Walikuwa wanasema nini? Nimeisha mimi. What do I do next? But what's wrong with this? How can they be talking? How? Am I in fake news? Apana, that's a TV footage. It is in the newspapers. It is everywhere. No. What do I do? Panic! Okay? Now let me just leave it at that. I think you now fully understand what was going on here. Okay? Now, let us get something right. It is very possible that when Raila visited Pastor Ezekiel, they were talking about the weather. It is very possible that Raila was telling him, because we know he's the support of Arsenal Football Club in the United Kingdom. He was telling him about a recent Arsenal match. It is very possible. My point is, it does not matter what they were discussing. Because what they were discussing was secondary, on the fringes, almost irrelevant, not relevant here. Or at least it was not as relevant as them being seen together, discussing something. I'm sure you get what I mean. Now, before I go, I have something that will be very useful to very many people on this channel. You see, the audience this channel reaches is very unique. We have many Kenyans, regulars on this channel, who are in the diaspora. We have many Kenyans in very senior positions in our country and living within the borders of Kenya who are regulars on this channel. We have many politicians who are regulars on this channel. That is a very unique audience. And in case you have a service or a product that you think this particular audience will be very interested in, and it is something genuine, something that will add value to their lives, something that will help Kenyans through these very difficult times, also through these very dangerous times. In case you have such a product or service, I will be very interested in partnering with you, and indeed even doing a video, a special video, focused on your product or service. And of course doing it in an interesting way, introducing a new interesting angle, not from your point of view, from the point of view of your potential customer, from the point of view of your most satisfied customers. So if you're in business, drop me an email. You can see the email address on your screens right now. As my contribution to Mother Kenya at this difficult time, I will do that video for you completely for free. Using my voice, using my talent, using the knowledge I have gained over the years, to be able to communicate to your potential audience, potential customers, in a way that it will be very difficult for you to communicate to them anywhere else. Okay, so I think you should take full advantage of this limited opportunity. Of course, I'll only take a limited number of businesses. Na sio maringo, it is because it's not practical to do so many. So I'll just do a few as my contribution. Of course, I'll ask for a small fee for my time, but of course it will be a pittance, a fraction of what you'd have normally paid to reach such an audience. So all you have to do is drop me an email, give me as much detail about your business as possible, send me your telephone number, if possible, and I will get back to you after I've done my research on your company, your business, etc., etc. I have my way even to be able to reach your customers, your current customers, those who are satisfied. And if I think that you have something that will add value to the lives of Kenyans, I will do that for you. And I'm sure it will be of great benefit to you. And also it's yet another way to support this channel and to support our cause here for a better Kenya. It is all in line with that mission of a better Kenya. Has this video made you intrigued about the presidency, especially the Kenyan presidency? Or have you always been fascinated by this office? Well, I have a recommendation to make. I have an ebook titled Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency. Many of you have already read it, but many of you have also not read it. But that's not all. I have also adapted most of the book into videos, and you can receive both the book and the videos based on the book in your email, pop, in the next few seconds. You can see the offer on your screens right now, only $8.99. And I will even throw in something more, 3 months free membership to my weekly intelligence briefings. Now that has to be the offer of the year, so take full advantage of it. It will not last for long, just 1 or 2 days, so please rush and make sure that you get hold of Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency. It has some very fascinating stories, most of them never before told. I'm sure you've never heard those stories, and they're not just stories, reality deep in State House. Okay, it is a super fascinating read, and also super fascinating to watch those videos. Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency is a book like no other I have ever written. And for me, it was a very emotional experience. I started writing it in 2008, when the horrors of the 2007-2008 clashes were still very fresh on my mind. Untold horror that no Hollywood movie can ever match. And I knew then, more than anybody else, that indeed in Kenya, politics is a matter of life and death. And so writing this book was a journey of learning for me, and a very steep learning curve, for me. I finally completed it one day in 2009. The time was 3 or 5 a.m. I was exhausted, drained, and what is more, I had no idea what kind of contraption I had come up with. Was it good? Was it worth the read? Was it interesting? Because no matter how important your message is, if you do not deliver it in an interesting way, if you bore your audience, the message will never reach home. Looking back today, the reaction has always been very positive for this ebook. Some have called it a thriller. Many others have said it has changed forever the way they look at Kenyan politics. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.